little bit after we're pronounced dead, okay? And that period can last from 24 to 36 hours. According to my son, my eldest son, Ishmael, when he was about 8 years old, he went to ask his father that question. Is that really all that happens to a person? I mean, when they're dead, they don't come back. And he said, well, son, he said, if a person is a righteous person and Allah can get to the body within a certain amount of hours, and he believes that it was 24, 48, and I thought it was 36 hours, he said he can bring that person back to life. Now, what that means, if it's necessary, but what that means in real lifetime for the average individual, I can't say, because we have to go that way to find out. But I think that explains that there is consciousness up to a certain degree, and I think you can will certain things to happen that can take place during that little interim period when you're pronounced dead. That's why they say it's very important how you handle the dead body, the supposedly dead body, because they still have some kind of sense of consciousness. Mm-hmm. So that means that we have to be more sensitive than we are at the present time for these things and realities to come to pass. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there another caller, Sister Najma?
Yes, sir.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Caller 815.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Gary, Mr. Muhammad from Gary, Indiana.
Yes, sir.
My question will center around the law of time and Jose Aguilar.
The law
I came
of
to know
time,
Jose. Yes, ma'am. The law of time and Jose Aguilar. I came to know of Jose through your work, Mother Tynetta. You wrote a minimum of 16 articles that I was able to find of the importance and relevance of the law of time by Jose Aguilar.
Oh, law of time. Now I've got you.
Yes,
Oh, right.
yes, the law
Yes.
of time.
Yes.
This caused my wife, Afia Muhammad, and myself to seek out the current successor of Jose, whom we all know to be our Red Queen, or known as Stephanie South. We met her in the members of the Law of Time in March 21st through the 23rd of 2014 of last year. Okay, after further studying this work, I saw that he acknowledged the divinity of Master Farad Muhammad, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and yourself. And he mentioned that you were very instrumental and vital to him fulfilling his work among the people. Now my question, can you share with us the relevance of Jose's work to the future of the Nation of Islam and the establishment of the New World and the fourth dimension? Thank you.
Okay. Well, my acquaintance with Brother Jose Arguelles, it goes back to 1988, where we met for the first time at a conference of education and peace that was sponsored by the United Nations in Fort Worth, Texas. And during that conference, he and his wife, Lloydine, were some of the presenters. And afterwards, I recognized when he was speaking that he was really coming from another world, something outside of, this present world. And he connected himself to the universal family. And so I asked him if he had done any kind of work with curriculum, school development, etc. And he said that yes, and university, not University of Cincinnati, but another theological school in Cincinnati, Ohio, and that he would be more than happy to collaborate with me and to work with me. So we never got back together again until 1991, I believe it was 91, 92, and I received an invitation via an elderly gentleman to be in contact once again with Jose Arguelles. This time, strange as it may seem, it was in the islands of Hawaii and on the island of Maui. and that Mr. Arguelles and Mrs. Arguelles were introducing for the first time the Encantamiento del Sueño, that's Spanish meaning dream spell, and it was a gift from the galaxy, and that it had a mathematical color and matrix to it, and so they invited me to come, and there was only about 7 persons that were able to get there to the island, and it was my very first meeting and understanding of what the dream spell was all about. Then later, it evolved that he came to Mexico very, very quickly. I'm going to hit this point, and he came and his wife. They came to visit me here in the city where we live. And it was during that visit where he was sitting at the dining room table for lunch, and he looked at the picture of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And the next day, he told me, along with his wife, that he had an extraordinary experience. He felt the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was reaching out to him and wanted to share some information with him. And he said that he knew that it was very important that the information from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and also the gift that I gave him of Quran was a part of the dream spell analogy. And so he included Islamic scripture quotes and also different sayings within the confines of his writings. Now, he also had the experience going to the University of Chicago and passing by the mosque where we used to have 5335 South Greenwood Avenue, and he said he knew that there was something mystical and powerful about Elijah Muhammad, but he also knew that it was not his time to come, but he always would go after the paper, the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, and he waited his time. And so that opportunity came, and he was so impressed that he had this opportunity to meet with his family here in Mexico, and that we continue to collaborate on some of the work. Does that help? Okay.
I think so, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
No.
Can you take another one, Ram?
One more.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
This is Brother Stowell from Galloway, New Jersey. I'm going to move quickly. First, Mother Tynetta, I first was introduced to you. You gave a lecture. Mathematics is Islam, and Islam is mathematics. The first joint session between the FOI and MGT, where you spoke on the number 19. Will you make that available? The second is
yes.
A spiritual elevation for me in the gateway came out of your book, To Come Up by Night, and the formula 19R plus 2R, 17R plus 2R equals 19 rakats. When I would practice that along with fasting, my mind would go to levels that I had never experienced before. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad mentioned spiritual elevation in 2 places, the prayer book and How to Eat to Live. So when I would fast and when I would pray and when I would pay the poor rate, I started by sending $19 to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad Educational Foundation and also to the number 2 Poor Treasury. So my second question is, will you make part 2 of the Come Up by Night that you mentioned in the revised edition and in your letter of June 19th, 1994? And also Jabril said in that book, in one of the forewords, that he would write a book about you. I asked Brother Cedric Muhammad years ago to ask Brother Jabril would he have he wrote that yet, and he said no. Would he do that? And then my last part, how we're in tune. I prepared my question by going over your interview with Munir Muhammad years ago, where you mentioned your father bringing the piano home. You mentioned how your mother was a talented vocalist and singer, and you talked about how you ended up in Egypt in 1975 during a dark hour to re-record your song, The Muslim March in Victory. And we know the greatest songs, the timeless hits, come from an experience. That leads to my question for Brother Rasul, which is, do you believe your music birthed from your mother and your grandmother through the DNA? And also,
dear brother,
yes,
this is
sorry.
too much, and that
okay, I'll leave it right
that's
there.
too much.
But do you practice piano? My
Just what do you want to ask?
Practice
No,
piano?
dear brother, listen.
Yes.
We value you and your time and your thinking, and I value my mother's.
Yes.
So she's on right now, and you might be the last caller.
Okay,
Just
I'm sorry.
ask a direct question to her, and
Yes.
I'll remain on for a few minutes. And if you want to ask me, I'll entertain what you're asking afterwards.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, my main question, will there be a
fair.
part two?
Listen.
Okay.
We have to be fair to her.
Yes,
Ask
I'm
her
finished.
a direct question. There's too many that you're asking.
Okay. Will there be a part two to the Come Up by Night?
I would say, brother, I mean, really, to answer this correctly, we are all in a